Good evening. It's just gone 7 o'clock, so we'll make a start. Welcome to this meeting of the Cabinet. I'm Councillor Shantanu Rajawat, Leader of the Council and Chair of this meeting. I'm joined around the table by my colleagues on Cabinet who will introduce themselves as and when they speak, as well as officers of the Council who don't take part in the decision making but are on hand to offer technical advice and support if requested. Also, very warm welcome to the Chair of Overview and Scrutiny, Councillor Raza, and the Leader of the Opposition, Councillor Peter Thompson. Both of Councillor Raza and Councillor Thompson don't take part in the decision making, but do hold a standing invite to this meeting. So we've got a lot to get through this evening, lots of interesting items. I'm going to dive straight into the agenda with the first item, which is apologies for absence. I've had apologies from Councillor Lily Bath, Councillor Salman Shaheen, and Councillor Catherine Dunn. I can't see anyone else missing. I think that's everyone. Yep. Members, any declarations of interest from items on the agenda? Nothing. No. Good. Any communications on items from the items on the agenda? No. Good. Okay, can I remind members to take note of the monitoring officer's note on interests as well? Right, we move on to the second item of the agenda, which is the minutes of the meeting held on 20th of January. I'll take them page by page for accuracy and matters arising. Page 7, page 8, page 9, page 10, page 11, and finally page 12. Agreed? Good, thank you very much. Right, we now move on to the first substantive item on the agenda, which is Budget 26-27. It's a report from myself as Cabinet Member for Strategy, Resources and External Affairs and Leader of the Council. A good opportunity to just take a step back in introducing what we call the budget for the future. This is our fourth budget of the administration, and each time we have worked on the principles of protecting public service, investing where we can, and making sure that we protect those that are vulnerable, and also work tirelessly to ensure that growth exists within the system. Budget settings of the past have been incredibly hard, made difficult by the fact that we've only had single year settlements and the money in the system hasn't always been there. And what that leads to is a budget round this year where we had to climb quite a high mountain. There is no running away from that. A budget gap of 54 million is a big, mean feat task to achieve in a single year. However, we did commit to do that. We are incredibly fortunate that we have managed the money over the last decade well, and even in difficult times, put away into reserves to pay for the rainy days. And we were at that rainy day, and we acknowledged very openly in July that our position in terms of reserves was difficult, and we needed to do a lot of work on that. What we are proposing in the budget keeps with those principles, keeps the choices that we have made to protect frontline services, protect services for our residents, and these are services that residents acknowledge through resident surveys, and what we pick up on the doorstep are valuable to them. They value them, they see them, and they access them on an increasing basis as well. So how do we balance such a big budget? Well, we need to be as efficient as possible internally, and you'll see the budget report contains that. We need to be maximizing income, making sure that the income that we're receiving is as much as we can do, accepting that some income streams are limited by statute. And we need to make sure that we are protecting frontline services, and that's what I think we have done. Within that, there is part of the recommendations an increase to the council tax element that we charge on our residents by the maximum amount allowed of 4.99%. To be absolutely clear, half of that money that is paid in council tax goes straight into social care. The bit that remains goes into frontline services. And I will talk in a minute about some of the investments, the immediate investments that residents will start seeing almost before the budget's actually set, because of the government supporting us actually in something called fair funding, or fair funding 2.0, where the current government, the Labour government, has acknowledged that factors such as deprivation and the real cost of services haven't previously been factored into the settlement, and readdressing that historic wrong in terms of the way money is distributed to local government is worth an additional £60 million to us over the next 3 years. That again will go back into frontline services that residents will see. And what that has given us the ability to do as part of this budget is to start some of that offer early. Now, members around the table will know in 22, when I stood up as newly elected leader, I made a commitment on street cleansing. Residents talked about and still do talk about street cleansing. They are very proud of their streets and they want to see their streets cleaned more regularly. Hounslow Highways provide a good service, but there is an opportunity now that there is money in the system to accelerate some of that work and intensify some of that work. And the offer is coming out, but that we are investing £750,000 into street cleansing. And by the time, assuming the cabinet agrees for this to go on to council, the full offer will be available for scrutiny as well. As well as that, we are often speaking as a cabinet, as colleagues, as an administration to young people, and breaking down barriers to services for young people is important. So we are putting £250,000 into that. And again, by the time we get to council, that offer will be fully fleshed out, but that looks like it'll be discounts into our leisure services to allow young people to access sports and fitness facilities, more to follow on that. And then finally, a further 200,000 into our communities, acknowledging that the recent peer review of the council acknowledged that whilst we have a wonderful relationship with our community sector, passing on the power is something that we could do more of and intensify. So again, we are working through the proposal for that, which I aim to have ready for when we go to council as well. So this is a budget where historic wrongs have been righted, where our pursuit of investment in public services, protecting the vulnerable and really championing growth really do come through once again. And I hope colleagues around the table will commend it to go to Borough Council for full consideration. So I formally move the report.
And I'll second the report and reserve my right to speak.
Excellent. Right. So it's been moved and seconded. It's now open for discussion and debate. Councillor Pritam Grewal, don't forget to introduce yourself.
Thank you, Leader. Yeah, Councillor Pritam Grewal, Cabinet Member of Community Safety, Customer and Enforcement. Right, as you said, Leader, our clean streets and safer street is a top priority with our residents and council. And the budget commitment, extra 750,000 for cleaning our streets and open spaces, so everybody can take pride in where they live. That investment is backed up by our enforcement model, launching middle of March, that's next month, bringing stronger oversight, consistency, and fairness to our enforcement approach. It directly responds to concerns many residents have raised with us. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Grewal. Anyone else? Let me take Councillor Thompson first, then Councillor Sampson.
Obviously, there's another forum where I can sort of wax lyrical, and I'm trying to save my better lines till then. I think we're all delighted that the fair funding actually had benefited Hounslow. I suppose nationwide, some of your colleagues aren't so happy because this is a case of robbing Peter to pay Paul, and the overall envelope hasn't particularly gone up. So as a Peter, I'm not very happy about robbing Peters, but actually since it benefits Hounslow, let's have the money. And I think we're also delighted for the extra money on cleaner streets. Something many of us have spoken about for a long time. I'm delighted it's finally come. If I was being a bit cynical, I might think about the timing of that, but let's just take it as it is. But just one sort of area just to mull into or go into a little bit. Obviously, a significant part of this budget appears to be, as I read it and as I watch the scrutiny process that took place, a large part of it seems to depend, as you mentioned, Councillor, on higher enforcement income, particularly from CCTV and traffic control. So I'm just wondering what assessment there's been made of how deliverable that actually is, because heaven forbid, what would happen if actually people began to drive properly and didn't go through the lights and we didn't get the 5 million. I think we see from elsewhere in the agenda tonight, we're not getting as much money coming in already as we expected from enforcement. So it does seem a sort of odd, not odd, but an unusually large amount of money to have in the budget to come from one area, which is dependent on, nothing guaranteed, it's just dependent, assumptions have been made. So if the assumptions fall short, and we could still be left with a sizable gap in the budget, I just wonder how we're going to make up that shortfall. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Thompson. I'll respond to that in summing up, or maybe Councillor Bruce will. Councillor Sampson.
Thank you, Leader. Councillor Sue Sampson, Lead Member for Housing and Homelessness. I would just like to add to the budget from the HRA perspective, housing revenue account. We have 1 million, we've invested 1 million into reducing voids, cutting rent loss and council tax costs, and getting more social homes back into use for families who need them. Service structure review underway to boost efficiency, remove duplication and ensure services are fit for purpose for residents. HRA on track to contribute 1.7 million to reserves at Q3, strengthening long-term financial resilience. Temporary accommodation budget on target, with fewer households in temporary accommodation than forecast, an additional government grant helping to manage costs responsibly. Delivering 32 million in housing estate improvements over the 26-27 and 150 million by 2030, making social homes better for our residents. New homes allocate more than 125 million from our housing revenue account to create more social homes for local people. Continuing to add even more social housing across the borough, building on the 1,500 homes already delivered since 2016. In November 25, Cabinet approved a new home assistance policy, expanding the range of adaptations we offer. This will increase investment in disabled facilities grant, rising to match the full 33.7 million government grant, ensuring more residents get the support they need to live safely and independently. Our rents and service charges benchmark are well below the London average. But let's not to also forget, I need to highlight our C2 achievement in all of this work as well. Thank you, Leader.
Thank you, Councillor Sampson. Councillor Sammy Chowdhury.
Thank you so much, Leader. Just a few things I'd like to say. This budget invests in the borough and our residents. Even in tough times, we are protecting our long-term future. We are backing young people and families in a big way. So 250,000 immediately for youth opportunities, 4.3 million through Family First and Family Hubs. And investment in special education needs, places and support, such as 1.5 million into the preparation of adulthood program, which will allow us to support more children, young people and families. And also we are putting 11 million into children's accommodation, which will reduce cost and extend in council tax for care leavers up to the age of 25, which is really, really good news. Through the budget, we have a long-term plan that delivers on our corporate plan commitments and put children's and young people front and center of our policies. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Chowdhury. Councillor Ajmer Garawal.
Thank you, Leader. Councillor Ajmer Garawal, Cabinet Member for Resident Support, Communities and Equalities. Unlike many councils, we're doubling down on our localities' community engagement to build thriving communities. In the budget, we're investing in our community hubs to put services where and when residents need them, a model recognised by other councils and corporate review team. So as you said, Leader, we're investing 200,000 immediately to strengthen communities and empower the VCSE sector, building local capacity and strong neighborhoods. The investment will empower residents and help communities help themselves. The budget shows that we are stepping up and investing in our borough. The funding will unlock our borough's full potential and accelerate opportunities for our residents. And that's how much we want our thriving communities to thrive. Thank you.
Here, here. Councillor Shivraj Grewal.
Thank you, Chair. Councillor Shivraj Grewal, Cabinet Member for Infrastructure, Recycling and Parking. I'm very proud to announce that we have achieved many things. We are doing many things. We will be doing many things in the future and providing services to the residents of the borough. As you mentioned in your opening, when you were reading your notes, we have spent £2 million on the payment pledge, where 22 roads in 22 wards have been done. 19 have been done, 2 more have to be done, which we'll be completing in March 22. We are investing in better streets using matched funding to deliver cleaner, safer, greener neighborhoods that support walking, cycling, and public transport. We are investing further £750,000 for cleaning, for cleaner streets, as you mentioned in your opening speech. We are backing a greener future with funding for the West London Waste Plan, ensuring we have the recycling and waste infrastructure needed to meet our environmental commitments. We are protecting homes and businesses along the Thames with over 400,000 urgent repairs to the Strand and the Green River Wall, safeguarding our community for long-term objectives. Parking customer service are delivering 1.8 million underspent, proof that strong financial management is delivering real value for residents. Higher parking incomes driven by fair emission-based charging means more money to invest in cleaner air and better streets. As far as your question, Peter, regarding traffic enforcement, we are introducing 20 enforcement cameras, improving road safety, and generating an income of 5.2 million. Making our streets safer for the residents and enforcing motorists who are using the streets in an inappropriate manner. We have also secured over 3.4 million from DEFRA to boost recycling and waste services, national recognition of our leadership and sustainability. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Councillor Grewal. And Councillor Bruce.
Thank you very much. Councillor Tom Bruce, Deputy Leader of the Council, Cabinet Member for Assets Regeneration and Development. I think overall we've heard some fantastic things here about what this budget is going to do in specific areas and how we are going to enhance the lives of people in this borough. I think taking a step back again, a bit like you said earlier, and thinking, well, this is where we are and how did we get to this point? And I think it's really worthwhile people remembering that we're in this position now because of the fiscal responsibility we have shown over many, many years. We're fiscally responsible, but still we remain ambitious for Hounslow. Ambitious for Hounslow was the name of our manifesto in 22 and was the name of the corporate plan. And our delivery shows that we have maintained that even in tough financial times. And now while some wrongs are being righted, it's still important to remember there was spend in quality, in high quality areas on high quality things over the previous 4 years and 4 years before that and 4 years before that. People are living in brand new homes that have been built. People are being able to access all our libraries that have remained open and have been improved. Our leisure centres have been improved over those 10 years, and we've made a commitment to rebuild another one, the one in Brentford. Our parks are extremely good, 20 or so with green flags, money from SIL being spent in that area on cycling infrastructure, on ensuring people have access to various services that they want right across the borough, and maintaining that investment in those services and in our staff, and therefore in the people of this borough. So that's where we have come from, a fantastic record, not always in the most easy financial times, but we maintain that now in this budget, and we carry that work on. And we've heard tonight, as I say, some fantastic things that we're going to be doing going forward in all our areas. But we've got into this position because of those tough measures sometimes that we took, trying to find the right balance between being prudent and being able to spend wisely in the right area. So I think it's fantastic to be here, being able to say this and being able to look forward to a budget that really is going to deliver and continue to deliver for our residents.
Thank you very much, Councillor Bruce. I think everyone's spoken on this. So I think just to sum up, and Councillor Thompson, to further supplement Councillor Grewal's sentiment, for us, this is primarily about safety, but it also points to broader piece of work around enforcement and the agility of our CCTV cameras, looking at areas where they maybe not having the effect of getting drivers to drive safely, and being able to move that around the borough, looking at hotspots, acknowledging that people do drive badly, and sometimes it's about correcting that behaviour. So nothing in the budget more generally, on to your question around deliverability, is not deliverable. It's been tested, but obviously a lot of it is practical. And on CCTVs, we will see what is happening on the ground. But what we will be able to do is be more agile with the deployment of CCTV cameras to be able to achieve that income, but primarily the safety on the roads for users as well. So I think, thank you, colleagues, all of you, for highlighting actually in your areas that there is so much activity that has gone on over the last 4 years. And I think, Councillor Bruce, you brought it back really well in terms of thinking about and having that space to think about the future, and really continue investing in public services. There are many that will make many promises about public services without any track record of delivery on them. I think we have shown that we are able to respond to what residents tell us, and put the investment in the right place at the right time, in the right way, to deliver outcomes that genuinely benefit. And it's not about us waving our flags and showing what we're doing. It's about people's lives improving day in, day out, and then feeling like their council is on their side. And that's what, for me, a budget for the future means. And it's the guiding principles of our political values, but also our values as a council and as a community as well. So I do commend it, and I just want, in the end, to put on record my thanks to the Overview and Scrutiny Committee for giving me a grilling. Actually, a couple of weeks ago, it was fine, but really challenging us on some of our assumptions and what we were thinking, and some of the proposals that were contained. Having that good relationship with Overview and Scrutiny, and through your stewardship, Councillor Raza, has been invaluable to this budget process, but also the work of the administration as well. Right. We are asked to make some recommendations to Borough Council. They're in your agenda packs. They are numbered 1 to a colossal 20. Can I see all those in favour? That is carried unanimously. Thank you very much. Colleagues, we now move on to the next report, which is the company's business plan for 26-27 for the Lambton Group. Now, as colleagues know, Lambton is our wholly owned subsidiary. It is entirely in our ownership, and it is incumbent on them to produce a business plan which covers a 3-year period. This is a strategic business plan, which also has a financial plan alongside it. It's built around 5 strategic themes. So financial sustainability, effective organisation, continuous improvement, customer focus, and developing people. And it builds on work that's already been done in the background over the last couple of years to strengthen governance, including the introduction of a single group board. So rather than have each individual company have its boards, a single board that coordinates the activity between all the group companies, and greater oversight from us as the shareholder committee. That's myself, Councillor Bruce, Councillor Sampson, and Councillor Bath as well. Of course, the companies provide services that are, as I said earlier, that our residents see, feel, and interact with, and satisfaction within those services remains high in terms of getting things right, getting them done the first time, and doing them properly. But of course, we know that there is a loss sat within the company, and that is sat within Lambton's own balance sheet, and it is for them to articulate in this business plan. And you will see that the plan articulates the group's desire to move from the loss in 25-26 to break even 26-27, and then £1 million in profit by 28-29, and that is articulated within the business plan alongside KPIs that will be used to monitor it. Growth is primarily commissioning led, obviously us as the commissioner, and that limits exposure to high risk external markets, but also gives them space over the next few years to think about how growth can be achieved organically through their own business as usual practices as well. Of course, this is a moment in time. This is not the end piece. There is obviously more to come. And as a shareholder committee, we are absolutely committed to holding the group to account, both in terms of this business plan, but in terms of their activity as well. And I should say the business plan has been approved by the shareholder committee just prior to this meeting. So I formally move it. Councillor Shivraj Grewal, will you second?
Yeah.
Councillor Grewal seconded it and reserved his right to speak. It's now open for discussion and debate. Anybody on this report? Councillor Thompson.
I suppose when I see that we're projecting a profit next year, we have to be pleased. Pardon? Break even profit afterwards, apart from that one area. We have to be positive. I suppose after years of, choose my words carefully, putting money into the organisation, it'd be nice if actually we didn't have to do that, and therefore we could spend it on somewhere else. Obviously, what's proposed does depend on uncertain sales of 18%. That's part of the savings. We're going to increase that, but the entire market is uncertain. So ponder, and I suppose half of me wants to say I'll believe all this when I see it. But just a bigger question in the peer review that we had and was commented on that a previous cabinet meeting, I wasn't able to be there, apologies. It did sort of suggest that you have a ponder about whether this actually is the best model going forward. That was one of the suggestions in there. And I just wonder at what point that actually happens, and at what point we say, well, maybe this model isn't delivering. It's not one that many other folks in London use, and maybe there's a better way to deliver these vital services for our residents.
Thank you, Councillor. So as I say, I'll respond in summing up. Anyone else on this report? Councillor Bruce.
Yeah, I think over the next, looking at the business plan for the next 3 years, we've got very positive outlook for how the company as a whole is going to work and is going to be on a financially assured footing. It is we're good. I've got a double.
Fine.
It is, fair to say, as a company as a whole, break even, and then this year, and then profit. Next year, and then profit. Beyond that, there is still a loss-making element within the company. The shareholder committee that did sit just before this challenged that area with the companies quite strongly. It has done in the past and will continue to do. What I want to see in the next year of shareholder meetings is that investment particularly comes to the table and talks about how they are working. Is what they're suggesting the right approach? Can they go harder and faster? Those were my words. And what's the implication of that? Because it's all well and good looking at a balance sheet and going, oh, well, this is that number and this is the thing and this is how we hold it. But what's the implication to the residents? Because that's ultimately what we are asking Lambton to do. We're asking them to deliver services. We're asking them to invest in homes that people actually live in. And in some cases, it may be that a loss over the short term is absolutely the wrong thing to do, and we need to do something different. But in other cases, it might be that that's absolutely fine, because the longer term outlook, particularly when we talk about Lambton investment and we talk about homes and we talk about the long term value of homes, perhaps that is the right thing to do. And that's what the shareholders challenge. That's what we have done, did today, and will continue to do into the future, because it's right that they are delivering the right services and doing the right thing for residents. That's what it's for. That's what it's about. And that's why that is incredibly important. So there's nothing in there that gives me concern, but it is about what continues to come forward. And you're right to say it's, putting your money where your mouth. No, that's not what you said. The proof is in the pudding, something like that. That we see, believe when you say it, that is what you said. But whatever analogy you want to use, whatever analogy I want to use, it's about being assured, meeting by meeting, quarter by quarter, year by year, that the travel is in the right direction, and that we're seeing what they say they're saying now actually moving in that direction, and that we're assured that whatever is happening is in the best interests in its entirety for the residents of our borough.
Anyone else on this? No. Okay, so absolutely, completely agree with what Councillor Bruce has said, and you have our assurance that as shareholder committee, we will absolutely hold them to account. And we've got to remember that there is rental income that comes in regularly that we're maximising on as well, which is a regular source of income anyway. On your broader point on the peer review, I think actually I would disagree with you, Councillor Thompson, in terms of what the peer review said. I think what the from my recollection of it, and I'll probably have to read the exact wording myself, but they understood and saw for themselves the value that Lambton brought in terms of the services that they provided. They could see a clear line of sight in terms of the work we've done on governance and relationship between the council as the commissioner and Lambton as the provider. Oh, actually, I've got it here. There's the wording, in fact, yes. So I'll read out the wording actually, because it's probably good. It's a significant employer with more than 1,000 staff, most of whom 63% live within the borough. Council parks and grounds maintenance were added in 2018 following the collapse of Carillion. Over the past 2 years, the council has made considerable progress in improving governance arrangements relating to Lambton. This includes the creation of a shareholder committee to strengthen oversight of the council's interests in its companies. Thanks for finding that. But I think what they were saying in terms of the future is it's always the right point when you get to a point where you've improved the governance and strengthened the relationship, that you look at what is next. Now, perhaps you'll call it a political decision, and I'm happy to accept that as a political decision. I'm absolutely committed to the work that Lambton do. I see the value, I see what they do for our residents, and I see the benefit that it brings. I will be challenging myself in the next administration to look at what that next step up for Lambton looks like, both in terms of the service that they offer our residents, but also in terms of their financial resilience and that ability to secure external work, which then potentially may create a dividend that comes back to the council later on. But I think that was acknowledged by the peer review. So I think we just need to be clear on what was actually said there. Right. Did you want to come in, Councillor Raza?
Thank you, Leader. Thank you, Chair. So, Councillor Syed Raza, Hounslow South Ward, Chair of Overview Scrutiny. I just wanted to kind of welcome the business plan for Lambton. I think certainly from Scrutiny in a Day in October that we took in last year, a lot of good work came out from there. I think that also fed in to the shareholder committee as well. So, really pleased that this has been brought forward to Cabinet. And budget overall, absolutely great to see the budget, and hopefully it keeps on going on. So next year we'll have a look at the budget and see where we are in a year's time. So yeah, great, good work. Thanks. Yep.
I'm not used to the Overview Scrutiny Committee congratulating me. Good. Right, if there's no one else on the business plan, the recommendation is to approve the business plan, including Appendix 1 to the report. Can I see all those in favour? That is carried unanimously. Thank you very much, colleagues. Right, next agenda item is agenda item 5, Hounslow Home Care Procurement. Councillor Bath is absent, so I will introduce it in her absence, and hopefully Councillor Chowdhury, you'll second it. So pleased to introduce the report. And I want to put on record my thanks to officers for their hard work in preparing it and for their work delivering the work to deliver home care services. So as we all know, home care is a statutory and vital service supporting adults to live independently, maintain their well-being and enabling hospital admission prevention and timely discharge. What we're seeing in trends is that demand is expected to grow year on year due to population growth and the blessing of an aging population. And that's, by the way, highlighted in the Vision 2050 report as well. Currently, as it stands, home care is delivered by 16 contracted providers supporting 1,335 residents and providing around 19,500 hours of care each week. The existing contract has successfully met our Care Act duties, delivering good quality care, stabilising the market, ensuring capacity and strengthening partnership, working with the ICB, the Integrated Care Board. Benefits include borough-wide coverage, payment of the London Living Wage, strong provider relationships, and effective oversight and delivery through CM 2000. The model's proved resilient during COVID, and recent excellent CQC outcomes reflect both the strength of the procurement approach and the outstanding work of our brokerage team. And so, following a full evaluation of all options, including insourcing, the recommendation is to retain the current model, updated to reflect learning, legislative change, and best practice. The proposal is to contract with 12 providers from November 26 for 5 years, with an option to extend for a further 3. The current spend on the contract is £24.8 million, equating to around £15 million per year from the general fund, with an estimated total value of £120 million over 8 years, excluding growth and inflation. So this report aligns strongly with our corporate plan, supporting better outcomes for residents, fair pay, integration with health services, and positive change across the borough. And so I move the report. Councillor Chowdhury, will you second?
Thank you, Leader. Councillor Samir Chowdhury, Cabinet Member for Children's Education Employment Skills. I'm really happy to second the report. As you've said, home care is one of the most vital services the council delivers, as it supports adult aged 18 and over to live independently in their own homes. Our service was really well, you've mentioned as well, was rated really well by CQC and was tested during COVID. Demand for home care within the borough is expecting to increase year on year, driven by both population growth and an aging population. And this is highlighted in the recent published Vision 2050 report. Procurement aligning strong with corporate plan, improving outcome for our residents, paying domiciliary care workers the London Living Wage, and supporting integration with health services. Thank you, and happy to second it.
Thank you, Councillor Chowdhury. It's been moved and seconded. It's now open for discussion and debate. I cannot see anyone indicating. Fairly straightforward report, so I'll go straight to the recommendations 1 and 2. Can I see all those in favour? That is agreed. Thank you. Right, I'm going to take a bit of a break for a second. We're going to move to agenda item 6, the Housing Revenue Account Business Plan Update for 26-27. Councillor Sampson.
Thank you, Leader. Yes, I'll bring before Cabinet tonight the HRA business plan update for 26, and I'm proud to back our Housing Revenue Account business plan, a plan that is financially sound and boldly ambitious for Hounslow's future. It delivers on our livable and greener Hounslow priorities by funding 1,000 new council homes and 300 million of estate improvements, giving residents warmer, safer and more energy efficient homes. This means securing long-term investment in the people who rely on us. The updated plan strengthens our financial resilience, restores reserves to recommended levels, and creates the borrowing headroom to invest a further 166 million over the next 15 years, which unlocks the new social homes our communities urgently need. We are supporting residents across our 30 equality opportunity areas and protecting those most at risk of homelessness in line with our own EDI strategy. by improving estates and expanding access to genuinely affordable housing. We are realistic about the challenges ahead, like inflation, interest rates, new legislation, and the wider economic climate all present pressures. But this plan sets out clearly how we manage those risks while still delivering on our long-term housing ambitions. The HRA business plan is a vote of confidence in Hounslow's future. It shows that we are meeting today's needs and investing in the homes and communities that will shape our borough for decades to come. I therefore present the report tonight and asking Cabinet to approve recommendations within the Cabinet report from 1.1 to 1.8. I'm seeking approval. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Sampson. Councillor Bruce.
Yes, happy to second and reserve my right to speak.
Wonderful. It's been moved and seconded for the business plan. Anybody on this report? No? Oh, go on, Councillor Bruce.
Well, I'll go now then.
You can
I'll
go now.
straight
Yeah,
away.
go for it.
Just to endorse all that Councillor Sampson has said, the HRA business plan for this borough is incredibly important in ensuring that people who live in our council homes are being supported, maintenance is kept up, that our estates are kept well, but also that we're investing in new stock going forward. We've had commitments over the last number of administrations to build council homes for residents, people who are living here now, sometimes in temporary accommodation, sometimes in overcrowded accommodation, and supporting that. It's the reason we invest money with Lambton to buy homes on our behalf in order to house residents. It's why we invest in our HRA stock in order to keep people in high quality homes. It's why we continue to look to build, because we know where people feel they have a safe and secure home, it reduces one issue that they might have in their life. Living in a home, being able to shut the front door at the end of the day reduces a number of issues that people have, and creates an environment where they can feel safe and happy living in our borough, and they can focus on other things. Where you don't have that, that is the main area of your focus. And I'm proud that we're able to put forward a business plan here that's going to deliver on that for our residents and for the future.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Anyone else on this one? No, in which case I will go straight to the vote. The recommendations are 1.1 to 1.8 on this report. Can I see all those in favour? That is carried. Thank you very much. Right. Now move on to financial monitoring update for Q3. It's reported my name. This is a report that Cabinet you will be very used to. Of course, apart from the budget, monitoring quarter by quarter the performance of the organisation financially is very important, not only because you set a budget, but also in terms of making sure that we are being as efficient and well run as possible. So to draw out a few of the key points from here, whilst we are forecasting in Q3 a loss of £6.8 million in the general fund, it is really heartening to see that the work that you as a cabinet and we collectively as a cabinet are doing has improved that position by 3.7 million since Q2, where it was just over £10 million. HRA, as we just discussed, remains balanced with the £1.7 million contribution to reserves, and any pressures from voids and repairs are being actively managed. There is a bit of a slippage in the capital programme, which does help with short-term borrowing. But of course, by the very nature of the capital programme, you can expect a little bit of slippage. I can assure you as a cabinet, I'm all over looking at the reasons for that and where things need reprofiling, making sure they are done so in a timely matter. Treasury performance and business rates are outperforming our assumptions, which again is helping offset some of those service pressures that we see. Not saying that we ignore the service pressures. Of course, we must carry on making sure that those are delivering as well. And our reserves do remain adequate. with £4.3 million in unallocated contingency, which is available to manage the risks as we see them going forward. So I've just distilled that down into a few details. Happy to take questions and comments later. Councillor Bruce, you can second.
Yep, happy to second and reserve my right to speak.
Good. Open for discussion and debate. Councillor Thompson.
Thank you. So as you mentioned, Leader, 6.8 million overspend. It's 6.8 million. 3.6 million of this year's savings are in the red. So I assume that means we can't actually deliver on those ones. So in terms of thinking about Q4, and I suppose thinking about the budget that you discussed, or we discussed earlier in this meeting, is the assumption that we will be, it'll all be correct by the end of this year, and we're not just going to be carrying over a large amount of overspend into next year's budget, which again doesn't seem particularly prudent or sensible.
Thank you, Councillor Thompson. Anyone else before I respond to that one? So just to be clear, the £6.8 million are in-year pressures. So budget set moment, got £21 million worth of savings. Perhaps you have to deliver those, but have to be cognizant of the in-year pressures that exist, primarily in adult social care and children's social care. What we've demonstrated in this report is where it was £10 million, we can bring that down. It's absolutely the case that we will carry on working to drive that down, but we are up against it in terms of demand increasing and also cost increasing as well. So whilst that becomes part of the challenge going forward, it's not that we won't deliver on that. We'll continue trying to deliver on that, and look at how we can do so in the budget and make sure that we've got reserves to be able to smooth that off. But those aren't the bulk of the savings that we recommended to council earlier in the meeting. Anyone else? No. Okay, can't see anyone indicating. So the recommendations on this report are 1 to 13. Can I see all those in favour? Those are carried. Thank you very much. Right, agenda item 8, CAMS Tier 2 contract award. Councillor Chowdhury.
Thank you, Leader. I would like to begin by thanking officers for their hard work on this report and for their continued commitment to delivering our corporate plan priorities on children's and young people's mental health. The CAM Tier 2 service has 2 key elements, both focused on early intervention and improving outcomes. The early intervention offers supports to children and young people with emerging mental health needs, helping to prevent escalation into crisis services and avoidable hospital attendance. So the Specialist Intervention Support Program provides expert input to care, using alongside direct work with families where children have entered in the care system. Together, these services improve emotional well-being, reduce pressure on secondary care, and deliver better long-term outcomes for children and families. We are recommending a direct award to West London NHS Trust to continue delivering these services. Continuity of provider is essential, as any change could be disruptive and potentially harmful to children's and young people's well-being. The proposed contract is for 3 years with an option to extend for further 2, and annual cost of for the contract is approximately 618,000. This allows for close monitoring of performance, outcomes, and KPIs before any extension is considered. The contract represents good value of money. Cost remains unchanged from the previous contract, with non-monetary uplift applied during the initial 3 years period. So officers have worked closely with partners to ensure the contract is fit for purpose, supported by active contract management and regular performance monitoring. Finally, if the contract is not approved, there is a clear risk of service reduction, increased pressure on secondary care, and negative impact on the mental health and well-being of children and young people. With that, I'll ask Cabinet to approve this, and the recommendations are, because I've got the agenda which hasn't got the appendices, the recommendations are on page 133, so your page number might be different. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Chowdhury. Councillor Ajmer, would you like to second?
Yes, thank you very much. Happy to second this, and I'd just like to say a few words now, if I can. I just want to echo that the commitments around early intervention and improving outcomes is so very important, and especially with important benefits, which will offer better long-term outcomes for children and families. And it seems like the contract provides flexibility to officers to closely monitor performances, KPIs and outcomes, and make informed decisions on whether to exercise the extension or not. And so I fully support this. Second it. Thank you.
Thank you both. It's been moved and seconded. It's now open for discussion and debate. Councillor Thompson.
I totally understand why you're not proposing to go to the market. I've read the report. I understand where we're at. Obviously, but when we do that, it's a good chance to explore other approaches and outcomes. But if it's genuinely the case that it's likely anyone else is going to be knocking on our door on this one, I totally get it. But I just really want, I suppose it's implicit in what you've said, and it's implicit in the report. But obviously, I'm not asking for 100% endorsement of what we have, but I'm just your chance to say basically that the council is very happy with what we do have, and moving forward, we might think of other ways of doing it. But the officers, the department, the people who work with, have confidence in what we're getting at the moment.
Thank you, Councillor Thompson. I've actually worked really closely on this one with officers from since we've started this on, and I think I'm pretty confident with all my team that it will be fine. And obviously, after 3 years, we will be thinking about it. Thank you.
Anyone else on this one? Yeah, and I think it's such a complex area, Councillor Thompson, isn't it? Which you would acknowledge, isn't it? Having that specialism there is important, and that early intervention as well. And I think West London Trust have proven themselves able to do that, and it's a good opportunity to just pull the strings a little bit and make sure that we're tightening up our expectations of them as well. So yeah, fully support it. Right, the recommendations on this are on page 446 of my agenda, probably slightly different numbering on yours. There's one recommendation to approve the direct award of a contract to West London NHS Trust. Can I see all those in favour? That is carried. Thank you very much, everyone. Right, we now move to agenda item 9, strategic SIL allocations and the infrastructure funding statement. Councillor Bruce.
Yes, I think I start every year with this, that this is not a very exciting name, but it's a very exciting report. Looking at how we leverage the money we get from developers who are building predominantly homes in the borough, and how we use that to improve the lives of residents. So it's always a very important report that comes through. Slightly, I would have to acknowledge that it's slightly less money than has been in previous years. That's the very nature of the way the building industry is working at the moment. So it's an indication that there are fewer homes going up, sadly. We're looking to rectify that with all measures possible, both at a national, regional and local level. But for the moment, we're talking about around £4.5 million this year, 3.5 that we're spending on infrastructure projects within capital programme, and £1 million for external for infrastructure projects delivered by external organisations. So a variety of things happening across the borough that I'm proposing this evening that we allocate this money to. Also part of the report is for us to endorse the infrastructure funding statement, which was all those that we allocated in the previous year, and actually in previous years, demonstrating that This isn't just a one-off thing, that this happens year after year. And there is a pot of money that gets spent on some very important things that are council-led or community-led, that are improving the lives of residents. So when people say, well, you know, you get developers here and they knock up a block of flats, my first response is, well, of course, those are homes for people. But my second response is, with that comes some other tangible benefits. And SIL is one of those tangible benefits. Money into the council that we can spend on direct improvements for people. That might be for parks, it might be for highways. In this case, I'm proposing, one of the examples here is I'm proposing £400,000 towards Middlesex County Cricket Club to begin the work to deliver a girls' hub in Brentford at Swincoe Avenue. £400,000 isn't going to deliver that all, but it is a significant amount of money to start that work and bring in further revenue, further money and funding from other organisations, the ECB, other cricket organisations, as well as other grants that they might be able to leverage with the money that we're putting in at this stage. That is one example, and there are many in the infrastructure funding statement from previous years, as well as in what we're proposing here as well. So, as I say, not the most exciting name, but very exciting content, and I'm very happy to move the report.
Thank you, Councillor Bruce. Councillor Shiraj Garwal, would you second?
Thank you, Leader. A very constructive report, Councillor Bruce. And I second the report and reserve the right to speak.
Wonderful. It's open for discussion and debate. Anyone on this one? Can't see. Councillor Thompson. Sorry, it's been a long evening.
It's been a long week. I'm scared of asking the question in case I show my ignorance, but obviously SILS Section 106, it's a thing that councillors, back in the day used to get very excited about, because it was, area forums got a pot of money and we could decide where to spend it, and area forums are different now, so that's not an option. So I suppose my question is, where do you think there's enough voice of members? Do you think there's enough voice of community groups in the process that decides where this money is spent? Because looking at the report, it just seems that this is our capital project list decided by the centre, obviously informed, in many ways by need and demand and so on. But where do backbench people like me and where do residents feed into the priorities? Because I can't imagine a better way of doing this, though, or a different model. Because obviously, if you put the money on the table, we'd all be arguing over it, and I won't be supporting that one in Brentford, but that one in Chiswick and all this sort of stuff. And I should have declared interest that two large amounts of money here are going to my ward, to the Brentford Fountain, which actually is in Chiswick Riverside, and the Strand on the Green Ward, stop it falling into the ground, which the council's had to put money into many times in the past. So yeah, I think there's, sorry, I'm waffling now. There's a question there somewhere about how we feed into the process.
Yeah, no, I think that you're absolutely right. Sorry, shall I answer now? Is that all right?
Fine,
Sorry, I've jumped in.
No.
You're absolutely right, and I think things did work slightly different in the past, and there was decisions to be made about S106 and how that works, and it's still a little bit confusing in terms of SIL originally, and I believe this when it came in was meant to replace S106, but they still exist alongside each other in a lot of respects. So actually, the infrastructure funding statement talks about S106 money and SIL as well, and where that spend is. In terms of the way SIL works, 80% goes towards 8% of the SIL goes towards strategic infrastructure. So that is based on the bigger spends and stuff like highways infrastructure or improving park landscaping and that kind of thing. There's a 5% admin bit that the council can take out and use, so it's helpful in that way of administrating this. And 15% is for community use, and that's where councillors and residents have a very significant say in where that money should be going, and where community groups can bid for things, where councillors can get involved in groups and say, we think this group is important and that group's important. We've had various iterations within our Thriving Community Fund over the years about how councillors have a certain pot of money, or there's this, and we've changed that over the years, but essentially it is still there. That 15% is part of the process that community residents, councillors have a say in where it goes. In terms of the rest, it has to be strategic. It has to be bigger ticket items, I suppose. And it is a case that we've looked at how we can make sure our savings program can utilize some of this money, so that we look at the way our capital works, and this can marry up in some respects, and that the savings part of this was that we save on the borrowing cost if we move it across there. But that's not to say that residents don't have any say in that process either. You know, we have a huge amount of information from residents over various things. Sometimes people say you're just asking us loads and loads of things. So, you know, and others say we don't never ask them at all. I mean, you know, you never win really, can you? But what we do try and do is take all that information, look at where those programs should be, map them out in terms of what's important now, and how we can spend against that. Doesn't mean these are the only things we do. It doesn't mean, you know, we get it right all the time, I would say. But there is a part that residents play in this big bit, and certainly in the community section of it.
Good. I can't see anyone else indicating on this, so we'll go to the vote. Recommendations 1A and B and 2. Can I see all those in favour? That is carried. Thank you very much. Right. Agenda item 10. We're almost there. Colleagues, we're almost there. Renewal of the inter-authority agreement with HB Public Law. So, as members will know, we've had a shared legal service agreement with HB Public Law. That comes to an end on the 31st of March 2026. HB Public Law have provided the majority of our legal services since 2015 under what's known as an inter-authority agreement, which is hosted by another local authority. In this case, it is Harrow Council. As part of this process, of course, we need to look at performance, and whilst in certain areas there were some concerns amongst service departments about the timeliness and quality of work in some very small areas, overall the service remains satisfactory and cost effective. We did a survey late last year, which concluded that 75% of those services that access HB Law, 71% were satisfied with the service. So on that basis, and having looked at other options, of course, as an administration, we would love to insource everything, but it will take a lot of work and a lot of money to create a full in-house legal service, which is why it's been discounted as an option. And at this point, it's probably not worth going out to the market when we can negotiate with HB Law around some of those service areas that didn't feel that they received the service that they should have done. We are proposing a new 5-year contract with break clauses at year 2, 3, and 4. What is improving in this renewal is a refreshed set of service level agreements and KPIs, as well as cost controls and protections as well, should there be the need for them. So it is much more robust a contract and renewal, as I say, that will run subject to our agreement for 5 years, and we will review that at year 2, 3, and 4 in addition to the regular monitoring that happens as part of contract monitoring. So I formally move the report. Councillor Sampson, will you second?
Yes, Leader, and I reserve my right to speak.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded. It's now open for discussion and debate. Anybody on this report? Councillor Thompson.
Yeah, I think what is proposed makes perfect sense in terms of having those break clauses. But again, and Leader, you touched on this in your introduction, but within the report, it doesn't really talk much about the option of bringing it back in-house. So it talks about option of doing nothing, and that's going to be really, really expensive. It talks about the option of outsourcing to private firms. It talks about entering into another shared agreement, but it doesn't really say that we're doing a lot to think about the in-house provision. So is that down the line? Maybe.
Respond to that now. So yeah, of course, as I said, we would always love to insource wherever possible. It brings in a lot of expertise. I think the reality is at the moment, trying to find local government lawyers is quite hard. but also in terms of the cost of bringing the service in-house, it is quite expensive because most of the staff 2P'd across to HP Public Law when the contract was first created. So I think whilst this 5-year extension or renewal exists, what will happen in the background is further work around what the future of our legal services look like, whether it is actually there is a line of sight to insource it in the way that we'd like to, or whether we actually go back out again at the end of the 5-year, assuming we don't use the break clauses. Oh, I've just been reliably informed.
It is, isn't it?
It is in there. Yeah, so the option is in there. Yeah, go on.
Whether I should apologise or not, because I was looking at this page and I've got a summary sheet and it talks about options A, B, and C, and that's what I was talking about. And then I sort of realised midway through your presentation, Councillor, that if I'd actually turned over the page, but I thought I wouldn't say that out loud because obviously the people might go and thinking I'm doing my homework properly, but and maybe I haven't, so I do apologise.
Can we get that minuted?
I'm wondering where this is going to, but I think it's good sometimes if politicians do admit that we do make mistakes.
Absolutely. All is forgiven, Councillor Thompson. All is good. Good. I can't see anyone else indicating on this, so we will, whilst we're ahead, move to the recommendations. Number 1 and 2. Can I see all those in favour? That is carried. Right. Final report of the evening. Admissions arrangements for the London Borough of Hounslow Community Schools 27-28. Councillor Chowdhury.
Thank you, Leader. This is yearly report. So the report fulfills a statutory annual process following consultation with schools and the wider community, and sits alongside our broader strategic planning for education. Cabinet should note that the forthcoming school organisation plan to be considered later this year will further shape our long-term approach to school provision. The strategy process covers three areas: the coordinator admission scheme for 2027 to 2028 academic year, published admission numbers for maintained schools, and confirmation that there are no changes to admission criteria. So consultation was carried out with schools and through the Let's Talk platform, ensuring parents, schools and residents had the opportunity to engage. Changes to published admission number applies only to 2027 to 2028, and they were all broadly supported by the schools. Many reflect requests from schools themselves, particularly where falling roles are creating financial pressures. These reductions help avoid the cost associated with the surplus places. To be clear, we are not reducing capacity where schools are full or high demand. Parents continue to have a high level of choice across the borough with surplus capacity overall. These changes simply align supply with demand and support schools' financial sustainability. And the report also sets out a clear admissions timetable, ensuring arrangements are in place for 27 to 28 and providing certainty for families and schools. We will continue to monitor demographic trend and capacity pressures. The benefits are improved financial sustainability, more efficiently use of resources and protected educational quality. And on this note, I would just like to say once again, I'd like to thank all our staff who have been really working hard on this and school organisation plan, and all with their engagement sessions, working closely with schools on this piece and a few others. And I also want to thank all the school staffs across the borough for their dedication, all the teachers, all the head teachers, and all their hard work, which reflected in fact that nearly all our schools are now rated high quality under the new Ofsted framework. And I move the report, Leader. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Chowdhury. I'll formally second it and reserve my right to speak. It's now open for discussion and debate. Can't see anyone in. No. Okay, good. So we'll move straight to the vote on this one, which is 1, 2, 4. Can I see all those in favour? That is carried. Thank you all very much. Right, I've not had any referrals from any other council committees, and I've not been notified of any urgent business. Would someone move exclusion of press and public? Councillor Garawal, seconded by other Councillor Garawal. Is that agreed? Yeah, good. Right, and so at this point, those watching online, I say thank you very much and bid you a very good evening.